Mr. Rehn, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. We do appreciate you taking the time. European markets seem to have continued the global sell-off in shares, with investors worried about the Eurozone debt crisis, about contagion. What are you doing to ease these worries?
We are working day and night to ensure the implementation of the agreement of the 21st of July, which will mean both continuing fiscal consolidation in the member states of the European Union and at the same time reinforcing the financial backstops, that is the European Financial Stability Facility, and making it more flexible and thus more operational in overcoming this kind of crisis.
But we're now seeing Italy and Spain coming under increasing pressure in financial markets, with their bond yields rising very sharply. The response that you described doesn't seem to be working.
There is, I'm aware of it, there is a perception in the market now that it's hampering confidence, and I would want to encourage everybody to stay calm and breathe deeply, and especially look at the economic fundamentals of the countries concerned. Both Italy and Spain are taking very firm action in terms of fiscal consolidation. We have just recently reviewed their plans and decisions, and they are implementing a program of fiscal consolidation which will ensure them meeting the targets of coming to the fiscal deficit of 3% next year, and for instance in the case of Italy, reaching a balanced budget in 2014. It's essential that both countries ensure rigorous implementation of these consolidation measures to reach the fiscal targets, and in parallel continue and intensify structural reforms to enhance growth and job creation in their economies.
Mr. Rehn, the fiscal consolidation efforts you described, does that really go far enough, given the level of turmoil that we're seeing in markets right now? It seems that investors are increasingly concerned about economic, political governance in the Eurozone. It's crucial now for Europe to be speaking with one voice, and that's not happening.
I agree definitely that we have to at least have one message for Europe, and that's why we need more rigor in communication, and we need verbal discipline, and that's very important in order to reinforce confidence into the actions and economic governance of the Eurozone.
So then what is happening to improve the communication in that sense? Because it seems to be now very fundamentally a political problem. People don't know who's in charge. So what measures are you taking to that end?
Well, that's rather a matter of each and every leader and individual and institution. But I think we have all learned our lesson. This is to be taken as collective self-criticism, and I'm sure that we will be better in terms of verbal discipline in the coming days and weeks, and broader in the future. At the same time, it's very important that we reinforce the reform and reinforce our economic governance in the Eurozone, because currently we have perhaps somewhat, say, clumsy and cumbersome procedures. Partly it's understandable because we live in democracies, and that is a price to be paid, because we need approval of 17 governments and 17 parliaments for any, say, milestone decision. But at the same time, I think it's fair to say that we need to consider how we improve the working methods and enhance crisis management capacity of the European Union and especially of the Eurozone.
In the climate that we're in now, it doesn't seem to be enough to say that we're considering this, we're reviewing that, we want to speed up the implementation of the agreement that was made at the end of July at that emergency summit. It seems as though the markets are so troubled by what's going on. what other steps are you taking to calm the markets? Because, you know, to sort of use the language of, yes, we're going to review this and improve communication, and I mean, what else can you do now?
Well, we are doing all the time. I mean, we are working day and night in order to make the European Financial Stability Facility more flexible so that it will be better equipped, for instance, through precautionary programs if needed, for instance, through interventions in the secondary markets if needed, and for instance, through financing recapitalization of financial institutions if needed. All this, of course, under certain conditions which are specifically defined. This work is going on, and we have daily teleconferences, meetings, and I expect that the technical work is ready in early September, and then we need the parliamentary approvals in the member states of the Eurozone. That's one work stream. Another work stream is, of course, in the countries concerned, and for instance, Italy has taken very important decisions on fiscal consolidation in the course of this summer, so that it will meet its fiscal target of 3% deficit next year and reach a balanced budget in 2014. These are not only words, these are concrete decisions which are being implemented. They are in law already in Italy.
Okay, so if they are
but more is needed, especially in the field of structural reforms to enhance growth in Italy and liberalize the Italian economy and reform the labour markets as well. You
mentioned the EFSF. Can you tell me then when it will be able to start buying government bonds on the secondary market?
My expectation is that we will be able to conclude the technical work in the coming weeks. It is indeed not a matter of months, it is a matter of weeks. It's a very complicated, complex, technical and detailed task requiring unanimity of 17 member states. So it takes some time, but we are working day and night in order to achieve that objective. And this work will be ready in early September. And I expect that then very soon after that we will have the national approvals from the national parliaments.
Given the instability that we've been seeing in the markets, Mr. Rehn, is a few weeks simply too long at this point?
Well, again, I would encourage everybody, ordinary citizens and market forces, to stay calm and breathe deeply and look at the economic fundamentals. Besides, the economic recovery is going on in most parts of Europe and of the Eurozone. Now it is essential that we do not panic in the face of financial turbulence, but rather we try to calm the nerves and calm the situation. I know that democratic politics does not always work with the same microsecond speed as market forces or financial markets, but that we cannot change too much in this short time span. It takes now some days, some weeks to complete this work, but I can reassure everybody that this work will be completed and the EFSF, our financial backstop, will shortly be operational.
Assuming that things get worse in the markets, we continue to see this sell-off, this flight from risk assets, and certainly Eurozone governments and their borrowing costs continue to come under pressure in the markets. Is there any way that the process could be speeded up, that the EFSF could actually buy bonds on the secondary market sooner rather than later? I'm talking within days, perhaps 1 week at the most.
As we speak now, work is going on, and we are doing our utmost to speed up the procedures, and I trust it will be concluded in the coming weeks. In parallel, we are working, or rather the Institute of International Finance or the European banking sector, or in fact partly the global banking sector, and the Greek government are working in order to conclude the work on private sector involvement in line with the agreement of the 21st of July. That also takes time because it requires voluntary action and consent of dozens of banks and financial institutions. So I can only call for understanding and reason to the fact that the implementation of these very significant decisions, but also very complex and technically complicated decisions takes some time.
Mr. Rehn, you mentioned
At the
their
same time,
private
of course,
sector.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you did mention their private sector involvement, and Europe promised last year not to involve the private sector in the rescue of Greece, and then that promise was broken. Are investors justified in thinking that bondholders will be included in the potential rescue of Ireland, Portugal, and then others as well?
I think it is an objective fact that Greece and the situation in Greece is a special and unique case, and this will not be applied to any other member state.
But this promise has already been broken.
The Greek debt burden is so much higher than in any other member state, and this especially makes the Greek case a very particular one.
What about other powers you want to give the EFSF, the idea of boosting its size to enable it to lend to larger countries like Italy?
It's important that we are ready to ensure that, stand ready to ensure that the credibility and effectiveness of the EFSF and the future ESM will always be ensured. I would not want to go into any kind of numbers game, but I can only say that, and I say it gladly, that in fact the decisions of the 21st of July concerning flexibilization of the EFSF are very satisfactory, and they go precisely to the direction that the European Commission suggested already in January this year.
But it doesn't.
I'm talking about the interventions in the secondary markets, talking about precautionary programs and about financing recapitalization of financial institutions.
But that agreement may have decided on the strengthening of the EFSF, but one thing it didn't do was to increase the actual size of the bailout fund. And I suppose that partly explains what's happening in the markets right now, because investors simply don't believe it has the firepower to respond to what is a growing crisis.
I think it's important to take the leaders by their word in a sense that the leaders of the Eurozone have latest just 2 weeks ago reiterated their commitment to do whatever it takes to ensure financial stability in the euro area. They have done so over the past 1.5 years, in fact over the past 3 years during various stages of the crisis, which started as the financial crisis became an economic recession and turned into a kind of intertwined combination of a sovereign debt crisis and banking sector fragilities.
Mr. Rehn,
the leaders have shown that they are taking action to ensure financial stability and protect the economic recovery.
But Mr. Rehn, there have also been political divisions, haven't there? I mean, the problem is when it comes to expanding the size of the Eurozone bailout fund, Germany remains very skeptical, if not completely opposed to this. How difficult is it going to be to get their endorsement?
I think it's important now to ensure that the agreement of the Brussels agreement of the 21st of July will be approved in the national parliaments and implemented. As I said, I expect early September will be the critical moment in this regard. And at the same time, it is important to constantly review if there is a need to further reinforce the EFSF in terms of its size. But as I said, in the recent past, the leaders of the Eurozone have taken action to show that they are ready to do whatever it takes to ensure financial stability in Europe.
Sure, I mean, you're calling for the reinforcement of the EFSF, but Germany has already rejected that. What are your hopes for getting them to change their minds?
Let's not go too far in these conclusions. This debate is one element of the broader debate, and in the broader terms, the concrete work is now moving forward, and that's our brief now. That's my brief now. That's why my staff and the Commission services are working very actively together with the Member States in order to ensure the realization of the agreement of the 21st of July.
Mr. Rehn, thank you very much indeed for your time. We do appreciate it.